Howdy mates, good afternoon, how are we all doing? Here's a part 4 video. We'll be revisiting one of my other favorite preserves in this area. This is the Indian Mound Reserve based in Cedarville, Ohio, which is just south of Clifton. And to be honest, this is actually one of my favorite little sections of the park. This is Massey's Creek, and you can see a direct demonstration of what slump blocks do to a waterway. It creates a little fall. And, of course, we always know that water will always find a path of least resistance. But something I wanted to cover in the video, you may have noticed there is quite a bit of greenery on the limestone. I'm sure some of you already know what it is, but I will mention it anyways. So, directly across, you can see that there's a demonstration of the growth of both mosses and liverworts. Now, you may be thinking, like, what's really the difference? Well, here is some similarities that they do have. They are both non-vascular organisms. So when I say that, they lack the veins that aid in the transport of water and sugars. And for another, they are seedless. So they do not produce seeds like our grasses or fruits do. So you could say that they're basically a seedless, non-vascular plant. So rather instead, both liverworts and mosses, they act like a mat, and they form like a short root, or I should say like a rhizome, along the growing surface. But otherwise, they really don't have a root system either. They need an object to attach itself. So here we go. Here is where I can talk about a difference. So like right here in particular, we have a great example of moss. Now I know moss is a very general term. It's just that most species go by scientific names. We don't really have common names for moss. Now what's neat about this complex organism, it goes through two different stages in its life. It starts out as a gametophyte, which means it is either a male or a female plant. But then as it develops further into adulthood, it reaches the second part of its life. It changes, or it grows an attachment called a sporophyte. And that very attachment that I speak of, whether it's a male or a female, that basically refers to their method of sexual reproduction. Now, I know that it gets a bit more complicated because not all mosses do sexual reproduction. Some of them do asexual. But looks like right now, in particular, they are looking a little dormant. Alright, so that's our, here we go. Here's another example of moss right here. Look at that. Now, Here is an example of a common liverwort. So, very similar to moss, except the difference is its growth pattern. Liverwort acts more like a leaf more than anything. And you see these little openings, those are chambers. It's essentially what allows oxygen to be transported to the plant. Now, same thing. It starts out as a gametophyte, and then it develops a sporophyte throughout its life cycle. In particular, these are most likely males, just given of how flat each individual plant is. If it was a female, they would have a bit more finger-like projections, you know, protruding from the liverwort itself. But yep, that is a common example of a liverwort. Now, it's fascinating too is both organisms are very crucial for carbon sequestration and converting it into oxygen by means of photosynthesis. But also, that being said, along the rock here that you see, they are slowly breaking down the rock as well, physically speaking. What I mean by that is, mosses and liverworts, when they break down the rock, they're essentially creating a form of soil as a result. And usually, I mean, of course, depending on the size of the rock, this decomposition can take thousands of years for the rock to fully break down. So, that's the thing. I feel like these types of organisms don't really get the appreciation that they do deserve. Some people think it's just a form of decoration, but when you take a look at them real closely, they have a complexity of their own. Just like any other organism, really. And of course, you get to enjoy this little piece of scenery here. It's always a pleasure to reunite with this place. It's been a minute. Alright, take care, you guys. Have a good one.